Hello, I am Mary Claire, working with Lauren, Kira, Danny, Jason, and Marley. But for this assessment, we are the B team. Prison gangs can be likened to an archipelago, a cluster of islands linked together by the sea. Prison gangs, which, despite being geographically separated, retain structural similarities or integrity that builds a gang's identity. In this representation, key concepts such as space and place, reality and virtuality, self and community, communication, exchange, and power are the linked islands that make up an archipelago, while the body of water that supports these islands reflects the recurring theme, identity. Identity in prison gangs differs from pre-prison identity because space and place are confined by physical and mental boundaries. Rules and regulations provide official structure of place, which forms an inmate identity, while gang identity forces the creation of space due to conflict of territory between gangs, trade and exchange, and power and domination. The Nazi lowriders, NLR, live by a perceived ideology of race-based hatred and are known for the distribution of methamphetamines and proactive violence. While their anti-black attacks are well reported on, it could be argued that its core white supremacy is comprised by its Hispanic inclusion. According to Twan, the stability of space brings attention to the openness and freedom of it, and therefore suggests the gang's ability to create a group identity with freedom in the space that they have made. The exact number of members who identify as NLR are not entirely known. However, it is estimated at 1,000 to 5,000 in and out of prison. Besides the distribution of narcotics and violent hate crimes, the gang's sole purpose and reinforced identity is white supremacy. Prison gang networks, however, are comprised of other elements such as reality and virtuality, which underpins how a gang's reality is perceived. Gang identity is reinforced through the concept of reality and virtuality, where the media highlights a virtual gang identity of mindless criminals for the general public that is not accurate with the gang's true identity. This can be seen through the Herald Sun newspaper, which made claims that convicted Hells Angel member Christopher Hudson had his Hells Angel tattoo blowtorched from his skin for bringing shame on the club. However, an insider proved the media wrong with a recent photograph that shows Hudson's tattoo intact. Naming is power, states Yi Fu Tuan, and the Herald Sun gives virtual accusations power through naming. More in-depth analysis is required to remove these virtual representations of identity from Hells Angels and other gangs to provide a more real and correct account of these gangs, perhaps by looking at their inner community and self. Prison gangs structure their values and beliefs globally through a process of identity creation, where community interaction alters an individual's identity to mirror the identity of the gang. Those who are in the community are at one with the community, so in order to be a member of a gang, one must represent and embody the same beliefs as the gang. This can be likened to a diaspora, which is forced group migration to a new land. One social identity is an element of diaspora and suggests that the gang identity will become linked with a member's individual identity, possibly to the point where the original identity is lost. Primero Comando de Capital (PCC) is active in 22 of the 27 states of Brazil. The gang was formed to protect prisoners from the Brazilian prison system after prisoners were killed during a riot. PCC stands for Peace, Justice and Freedom and is upheld by a group of common men. However, prison gang networks are also made up of other elements, such as language and communication, and are used globally. Communication facilitates and maintains global prison gang networks and reinforces unique group identities distinguishable from other gangs. The umbrella of communication encompasses all human methods of articulating messages. Prison gangs reinforce their identity through the use of unique communication techniques such as verbal and non-verbal language, writing, and symbols. Communication, through its impact on the human condition, imparts character on intangible things. This suggests that a collective identity is dependent on common communication methods, both inside and outside of prison, and can be contextualized using the example of the Russian mafia who utilized tattoos to supplement language communication. Other elements of prison use communication, such as trade and exchange, though the actions may not look like typical communication because it is inbuilt into daily gang life. Trade and exchange in prison gangs can enable or enhance a member's identity by gaining status through interactions of networks of contraband. This includes the trading of cigarettes and book stamps that act as prison currency. As David Starbeck states, prison inmates do not have any official means to trade and exchange contraband items. For example, the Mexican mafia creates a self-enforced network of exchange to enable a prison-based economy. Turkle's Life on the Screen introduces us to the idea of the panopticon, a theoretical device used to watch inmates. This is a reality for prison gangs who use self-surveillance and trade to create identity. Identity then creates power. Identity is the supporting foundation in gaining and maintaining power within prison gangs. As Allen states, people are placed by power. Prisoners on a global scale experience placement with power through the rhythms and relationships of the prison environment. Inmates are categorized by a hierarchical system based on identity and power. Power is the ultimate form of securing habitual obedience and control within the gang. This is known as perceived authority and is constructed through perceptions of hierarchy in prison gangs. For example, gang members who are ranked higher exercise more power than those positioned lower. In the prison system, dominance is key and highlights the vitality of the relationship between identity and power. A clear depiction of this vitality can be seen in the hierarchy of Mara Salvatrucha, more commonly known as MS-13. The person with the most power is identified as a shot caller. The shot caller has ultimate power and all other members must obey his command, even if they have no idea who he is. It is that habitual obedience to the identity that is power. Today we have discussed prison gangs, which retain similar means of forming identity despite being separated globally. Through exploring space and place, reality and virtuality, self and community, communication, trade and exchange, and power, it is clear that prison gang networks build and maintain identity in the same way. However, it does not determine what a gang identity encompasses, and eventually becomes.